AITA for telling my sister she needs to name her baby like he will grow up and not give him a cool baby name. My sister is obsessed with the show Yellowstone. Her husband is willing to do anything to make her happy. They want to name their baby Cowboy. I know I should have kept my mouth shut. It's not my circus or my monkey. I just know the absolute hit that kid will go through. So I told her to consider that she was naming Apperson, who would eventually be an adult. Our mom and dad at least had the decency to only give me Danger as a middle name. Yes, I've seen the ucking movie. She thinks I'm an *SS-hole for calling her name choice stupid. I think I'm trying to save him from a lifetime of bullying until he legally changes his name. AITA for not giving my family a heads up that I'm dating again after my husband's death. My 45F husband, Tim, and I married right out of college. We had a very happy first decade of marriage, including having 2 children, Luke and Beth, who are now 21M and 19F. However, when in our 30s, Tim developed severe depression and substance use disorder, alcohol and painkillers. His depression was treatment-resistant and that made him unable to fight his other addictions. Despite numerous inpatient psychiatric stays and several stints in rehab, he passed away of an overdose 5 years ago, at age 40. We don't know, and will likely never know, if the overdose was accidental or intentional. After Tim's passing, I was 100% focused on helping our children be as okay as possible. Despite his demons, he was a great dad when he was able to be. And losing him was completely devastating for all of us. Lots of individual and family therapy helped, and Luke was able to graduate from high school with high honors and get a college scholarship, out of state. Beth graduated last year with similar honors and is also now in college, several states away. With both Luke and Beth now adults and away home, I can finally focus more on myself. It took me a long time, at least 3 years, after Tim's passing before I could even think about wanting to date again. Then for the next year I was focused on getting Beth through her last year of high school and off to college. However, once she went off to school in the fall, I started to dip my toe into dating apps. It's been slow going. I've had a dozen or so dates total, mostly first dates that didn't go anywhere. There was one guy the first went out with 4 times, but we decided not to continue as we weren't feeling a more than friendship spark. So, here's where the problem is. Last week, a cousin of Tim saw me out on a date. She was in town for business and just happened to be at the same restaurant. She made a bit of a scene. Up to the table and demanding to know what I was doing with betraying my husband, which really confused the gentleman I was out with. She then stormed out and, apparently, called Tim's parents, who then called Luke and Beth. Now everyone is furious at me because I hadn't given a heads up that I was starting to date again. My thought was, I don't need to give the play-by-play on my dating life, especially when it might be hurtful. I figured that if I actually started seeing someone regularly, I would let folks know, but until then there didn't seem to be anything to tell. Especially as Tim's parents live across the country and Luke and Beth are away at college. However, everyone involved, Tim's cousin, his parents, my kids, and assorted other relatives, and friends who now know, say I am a huge forno telling people in advance that I was moving on. So, AITA here? Not asking if I ATA for dating at all. I've been a widow for 5 years. Just if I am for letting people find out without a proactive heads up. WIBTA for not paying for my girlfriend's exterminator. My car was in the shop for a few weeks and my girlfriend has 2 cars and let me borrow one offers. We do not live together. I returned her car and a few weeks later she mentioned that her car in her house has bed bugs and she needs to get an exterminator. I told her that my house has bed bugs for many months now, but I just manage it by vacuuming a Lotan. It's not too bad now. She flipped out and blamed me for her bed bug infestation and said I caused it. I don't think this is likely since she comes to my place all the time and never had an issue before, and I keep it under control by vacuuming that it is highly unlikely I could have accidentally carried sufficient bed bugs to her car. If you tried to find one at my place after I vacuum, you wouldn't be able to. She wants me to pay for an exterminator for both my house, her house and her car. She earns a lot more than I do and I feel this is unfair. I'm not even sure I can get an exterminator for my place since I rent while she owns her place. WIBTA if I tell her to pay for her own services? AITA for not wanting to watch a group of kids at my sister's wedding. I, F25, am a kindergarten teacher. I've been teaching for 4 years now, and even though it can be exhausting, I overall love my job. My sister, F30, is getting married in 2 weeks. My about-to-be brother-in-law has a sister who lost their husband 6 months ago and has twin daughters, 5. I offered to watch the twins during the so she can hopefully have some fun. I know the twins and they're overall well behaved, so I seriously didn't mind if that meant Bill's sister can have some fun after losing her husband and becoming a single mom 6 months ago. Today I was talking to my sister and I found out my sister told several of her friends I can watch their kids during the reception. I asked, she say that? She said, well, since you're a teacher and watching Bill's sister's twins, I figured she wouldn't mind. I told her I do mind and she better tells her friends to either take their kids and watch them themselves or start looking for a babysitter because I'm not. My sister went all bridezilla and started calling me a selfish and accusing me of not liking my job because I can't handle a group of kids for a few hours. It's not that I don't like my job, I actually love my job, I just rather not watch a group of kids I don't know. So AITA?
AITA for hiring my cousin's nanny that she hired for her disabled child? I, 35F, have a cousin, Shauna, 40F, who had twin girls in 2018, but because of some complications while giving birth, one of them had birth asphyxia that caused severe brain damage. Shauna's daughter suffers from cerebral palsy and epilepsy. Back in August, I hired a young girl, Bianca, 22F, as a maid. Around November, I told Bianca I really didn't have any need for a maid currently and could easily do most of my chores plus take care of the kids myself, but if I needed someone and she was free, I'd hire her again. Shauna immediately hired her as a nanny and I was really happy for them as Bianca found work with a good family and Shauna had the help she needed. I was skeptical how Bianca was with kids because I never left my kids with her and would do most of the child care myself. I have one toddler and 2 school-age children. A few days ago, around the end of January, I contacted Bianca if she knew anyone as I needed a maid, nanny, as my job was becoming more demanding and I needed someone to be home for the kids. Bianca told me she'd be available by the 1st of February. I asked about Shauna and she said the work was too demanding taking care of her daughter, plus chores around the house concerning her other 5 kids. Bianca came by the 1st and she's been working with me since then. I did not talk with Shauna as I thought Bianca and her had worked something out on their own. On the 3rd, Bianca keeps getting calls and she keeps disconnecting them. After some time I get a call from Shauna crying and screaming saying I stole Bianca from her. I have no idea what she's saying and when I confront Bianca while still on the phone with Shauna, she admits that she's been trying to quit for a while but Shauna keeps begging her and emotionally blackmailing her not to quit, that she had no choice but to get another job without informing Shauna. I hang up and get angry with Bianca that now I'm in an uncomfortable position cause Shauna is my cousin. I do not want to fire Bianca cause I'm also in dire need of help too, plus she's already worked a week with me. Naturally the entire family thinks I'm ta cause istily Bianca from Shauna. Only my mom, Mill and sisters are on my side but everyone else including my sills are saying I should fire Bianca and let Shauna hire her again. Plus I'm getting calls from Shauna begging me to let go of Bianca cause she needs her more. Bianca doesn't want to go but Shauna keeps spamming her and telling her she'll pay her more like 25% more than what I'm paying her now. I let Bianca make the final decision and she said she wanted to stay with me. Am I the AmItheAsshole here? Edit. There's a lot of comments and a lot happening. IRL that I can't keep up. Short version is I Khalid Shauna's elder brother is basically the one Alu's cousins go to if we need advice or help, so I thought it best to talk to him even though he might be partial to Shauna. I called him and to my surprise he was very much on my side. Apparently Hahad visited Shauna while Bianca was working with her and agreed Shauna was in over her head and depending on Bianca too much. We're going to talk more today and find a better solution for Shauna and Bianca. Currently that's all.
AITA for making my stepson switch bedrooms with my 2 daughters? I'm going to preface, I did not know my husband had a son from his ex-girlfriend. I married my husband not knowing he had a son. I only found out about it after my daughter turned 2. We've dated for 3 years, but not once did he mention his son. I never met his son before that. Even after our wedding and during my pregnancy, and #X200B. It was the ex-girlfriend who came over to our house with Josh, he was 5 back then, and #X200B. Nonetheless, after a lot of counseling, talks, me going through and asking every single question there is, even the absurd ones, we figured it out. I went from livid about his omission to just annoyed. And #X200B. Josh occasionally stays over throughout the 11 years since I was made aware of him, and throughout those times, he sleeps on our pull-out couch. Well, lived in a 2-bedroom apartment and had another girl. So my daughters, Anna 13 and Jane 10, charade a bedroom. I tried my best when it came to Josh, but he said he never saw me as his mom, which was fair to me. And #X200B. Josh turned 16, and stuff went down with the court. I don't know the full details. All I know is that Josh's mom was deemed unfit. My husband said Josh had nowhere to go and can't stay at his aunt forever. We're not rich, but we needed to make a plan. We moved into a 2-bedroom house but furnished basement, and #X200B. Before we told the kids, my husband and I talked. I said that we should give the basement to the 2 girls since it's a bigger space to share. They will hit their teens, and I don't want them to feel cramped and seem like they don't have privacy from each other when they need it. Josh would be the bedroom upstairs. My husband agreed. And #X200B. The day we moved, he flipped it. He told Josh Thathay was getting the basement and that it would be his. It was like a mini living room, etc. I was livid and pulled my husband aside. He told me Josh was planning to stay here while he goes to college in the future, and it should be fair for him to get a bigger space. I said it's fine if he wants to stay, I'll give him that choice. But the girls are going to turn into teens. It's not fair for them to be cramped in a 1-bedroom and lack privacy from each other. He told me to tell Josh myself then. ID. And #X200B. I sat down with Josh. I told him that the initial agreement was he can get the upstairs for as long as he needs. And that it has walk-in closet and we can even install a TV for him. His gaming set also fits with still a lot of room to play VR. Josh blew up on me. He called me AmItheAsshole and said just because I wasn't his son, I shouldn't be taking his room away. He told me he was sick and tired of mealways favoring the girls. Which in my opinion, try best. I brought him with us on trips. The girls enjoy his company and look up to him. I paid for his school trips. I sat with him during a lot of parent-teacher conference. I called out from work when he was sick to take care of him. I tried my best. But I feel like I made the AmItheAsshole in this situation. Edit. I called my mother and explained the situation. She lives far from me, but she told me that this isn't normal. I thought it was. And that I was getting taken advantage of. She was against my marriage, but I never understood why till now. She told me to do things discreetly. We agreed to a prenuptial, and the house is in my name. I'm not sure if I want divorce since I don't understand certain things. But I will keep it in mind. Know what will happen to Josh if we divorce.